So these expenditures are right there in federal records in black and white, and they show that Senator Sinema has spent more than $180,000 in campaign funds on things like swanky resorts, Michelin star restaurants, winery visits, private jets, and more. Campaigns, to be sure, are allowed to throw fancy events, but this new complaint alleges that Sinema was diverting funds for her personal use to finance a luxury lifestyle. Sinema is an avid marathon runner. A lot of people know that. And the complaint highlights cases where her campaign paid the cost for her to run in 17 races, including the Boston Marathon. She spent more than $9,000 on that trip and stayed at the Ritz-Carlton. She also took expensive international trips to Paris, to Barcelona, and to London, all paid by the campaign. Today's complaint was filed by a political action committee that is publicly and openly trying to unseat Kyrsten Sinema. The senator's office has dismissed all this as a political attack, but an independent attorney told us the allegations in this complaint appear to have merit.
Running a Boston Marathon or skiing in Vail or attending wine seminars in Napa Valley, none of that is directed towards campaigning in the state of Arizona, and that's why it's problematic. It's clear-cut, very clear-cut, that what she's doing violates the Federal Election Commission laws.
So Senator Sinema's office disputes that, and they sent us this statement. They said, it's not surprising that desperate political attacks from dark money super PACs are based on lies. There's no standing here, and Kyrsten remains laser focused on delivering lasting solutions to the challenges we face. And her office declined further comment on other specifics. Now, Sinema's campaign spending is raising even more questions because she is spending while not actively campaigning. The senator has still not said whether or not she will run in 2024. The attorney we spoke with today says the claims outlined in this new complaint are worthy of a criminal investigation by the Department of Justice. Jared.
Derek Stahl here in the newsroom tonight. Derek, thanks so much. We'll be sure to follow what happens with that FEC complaint.